The ERC Employee Retention Credit is a little unknown benefit to employers who kept employees on during the COVID-19 shutdowns. We're talking most of 2020 and almost all of 2021. But I still can't believe how few people realize that this is available to their businesses. And yes, you can still get it even if you got PPP. There are a number of ways to qualify. So today, I'm going to share with you exactly how to apply. Literally, I recommend pausing this video, grabbing the laptop. You can click my link down below in the description. It'll be that top link. And just walk yourself through the qualifying questions to see if your business could get potentially thousands of dollars back in a refundable tax credit. So you're not going to want to miss this. So you heard right. The ERC, the Employee Retention Credit, was passed into law right around the same time as that self-employed unemployment, the EIDL loans, the PPP. But applying for this tax credit gets a little complicated because typically your accountant would handle your taxes, but your accountant usually doesn't handle your payroll. And your payroll company, whatever provider you use, is not really in the business of filing for tax credits on your behalf. So you can see how there's this like no man's land where you need some specialists who do this. And I have found that company. I've partnered with the ERC specialist. I've vetted them. I've been working with them for months, talked to the CEO. We hold, bi-weekly meetings, and all they do is work with business owners who have W-2 employees to get all the paperwork in order and file on your behalf with the IRS to get you this money. Now, there have been so many rule changes with this employee retention credit. So let me just break it down for you. If you have W-2 employees, you can get up to $26,000 per employee back to your business in a refundable tax credit. Let's just do some simple math. Let's say you have, on average about 10 employees and you get the full credit. We're talking over $250,000 back in your pocket. Oh, and there is a new application. I've made videos like this in the past on how to apply, but this new application kind of takes you by the hand and just guides you on exactly how to get the right payroll documentation. It asks you all the right questions. There's 3 different options or ways to qualify. So if you have seen any of the previous videos, this one is the one to watch. And before we dive right in, please consider joining our private Discord community. And please like this video. It's going to be super beneficial and I appreciate it. All right, so take a look here. This is what their website looks like. And if you want to dive right into the questions, you can just click up here where it says begin qualifying. Now, as you can see here, there is a little disclaimer that basically says that this robust stimulus program that was created by the CARES Act is basically going to require you to upload some documents. And I'll get into what they are later. But this is nothing that anyone can fudge. You have already actually paid this money in the payroll taxes to the IRS, and now you're going to be getting this money back. So after you click next, they're going to ask you, did you pay any W-2 wages in 2020 or 2021? And if the answer is no, then you don't qualify for this. I'm sorry. And again, I'm sorry to my sole proprietors, my independent contractors, basically gig workers. This isn't for you. But if you did have W-2 employees, then go ahead and click yes. You're going to get to a screen where they just want the name of your company. So especially if you have an LLC or you have a holding company, whatever that is, put in that full name, the same name that where you'd see on all your government documents. And now we get to a screen that says, how many full-time employees did you average in 2019? Now, a full-time employee is someone who averages at least 30 hours of work per week or 130 hours per month. And remember, they're asking for 2019 to start because what they're going to do is then compare that to 2020 and eventually 2021. If you aren't exactly sure, go ahead and read through some of the examples. For the sake of this video, we're going to move on to the next screen. Next, it's going to ask you how many employees you had. For example, if you had over 500, you are going to be disqualified from this. But if you average less than 100 or more than 100, but less than 500, then awesome. Keep going. I'm going to click over 100 but under 500. And now I love how this revised application kind of breaks it down for you in 3 qualifying ways. So what you're going to get next is a series of questions, and in each of the sections they determine your eligibility, and you can qualify based on one, the other. It's not a everything, it's a either or. So here we go. The first one's going to be known as revenue reduction. Now, I could get into all the 20%, 50%, but basically what they're going to be looking for are your profit and loss statements. That will substantiate your claim. So for 2021, it was a 20% revenue reduction. We're talking gross sales, and we can get into 2020 in 1 second. But first they ask about Q1 for 2021. And for the sake of this application, I'm just going to put no, because I want to show you how you can still qualify using one of the other 2 qualifying ways. So the next screen, I'm going to say no again, no again. Here we go, no again. And now we get to option number 2, supply chain disruption. So supply chain disruption is a very common qualification for businesses for this ERC credit. And basically, if you rely on other vendors or suppliers, and during all this government shutdown, you could not get the supplies that you needed, and it had more than a nominal impact on your business, then you could qualify for ERC. Now, this can be a little bit of a tricky area for some people. I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's say that you need pallets. I've heard there's a shortage of those wooden pallets. And if you can go back to 2019 and think of how much business you did, how many pallets you used, and you just straight up can't get or could not get that supply during 2020 or 2021, if it was more than a 10% impact on your business, then that would qualify you. There's also a no replacement supplier. If you could not find a replacement supplier for the supply item that you needed, then again, you could qualify. And this next screen just goes to show how good these ERC specialists are. They're asking for the specific type of items you were unable to get. Was it 1 item? Was it 2? So for the sake of this application, I'm going to say yes, I was impacted by the supply chain. I had 1 item that I couldn't get. It was pallets. And the supplier, the world's largest or America's largest supplier of pallets, is known as Pallet One. So not only could I not get my supplies, I'm also substantiating and recording the name of the supplier I could not get it from. And let's move on to the third option, the third way to qualify. It's known as a partial or full suspension. So with all these government mandates, we're talking local, at the state level, federal. If you had to close your doors or work at, half capacity, or you had to sit, every other seat, these types of government shutdowns, these mandates had an impact on your business. And if they applied to you, then your business could qualify for this ERC money. Now, one thing I want to point out is that these government shutdowns, these mandates, they mainly apply to 2020. It doesn't mean that they could not apply to 2021, but they were fewer compared to 2020. Now, I don't mind diving a little bit into the nitty-gritty here. You do not need a revenue reduction if you were impacted by these partial or full suspensions, basically by being shut down. But these shutdowns do have to have at least a 10% impact on the revenue producing operations. So for example, if you were going crazy, or a restaurant going crazy with the takeout, but most of your business isn't takeout, then if you were impacted more than 10%, then you're going to qualify based on this full or partial shutdown. So on the next screen, they just straight up ask, were you impacted by a government order? I'm going to say yes. And I'm going to say my reasoning is a reduction in services offered. I was unable to serve clients due to the government orders. Now, this is a really good screen. I think many of you are going to get to this point. It says, congratulations, based on your responses, you qualify for the below quarters. We're talking about Q1, Q2, and Q3. Now, your answers might vary. For example, I don't anticipate, based on this like test application I'm doing, I'm going to see anything for 2020, but you may get a certain amount for 2020 and then a certain amount for quarter 1, quarter 2, and quarter 3 of 2021. Now, this next screen is going to ask you how many W-2 employees did you average in 2021. I selected, if you remember before, like more than 100, but less than 500. So I'm just going to put, something in the middle. And here we go. Great news. You do qualify for the ERC program, but the basic information that you are about to put in is going to need to be paired with eventually these forms, like payroll forms, and we'll get into that in a second. So before we type in like basic business information, they just say, please add the 2 support and processing emails from ERC specialists. That way they don't end up going to spam. You can get, everything in a timely manner. Go ahead and put your first and last name, contact information, your email, add your job title, the company's business, address. There is a place here, it says who introduced you to ERC specialists. Please, I get a little bit of money if a referral goes through, and you can put my name, Rich Smith. Also, my link down below in the description will take you to that same place as well. If you have anyone who handles your payroll and you want to add their email, this is the place to do it as well. And then they just ask you for what industry that you're in. I want to dig real deep here. You have to check this box for terms and conditions and then hit submit. But I get questions about like audit support. You're dealing with the IRS. And if you look here, they do offer audit support, and they are substantiating and gathering the documentation in case of that type of audit before they ever even apply for the credit. So you can kind of read into this a little bit more, but I always say, do your own due diligence and read the fine print. So my screen is awesome. Check this out. 2020, nothing, based on how I answered the questions. 2021, close to $2 million. Remember, I had hundreds of employees in this test application. So they ask you in the next 24 hours to upload the appropriate documents. So let's take a look at what those emails are. But before we do, they are saying, hey, listen, the IRS is backlogged. It's going to take a minimum of 16 weeks once everything is processed. Now, they move very quickly, but they still need 2 to 3 weeks to do processing on their end and get all the documentation ready, hand it off to the IRS, and then the IRS is saying they're taking a minimum of 16 weeks. Now, you're going to receive a thank you for your submission email that looks like this. And you're also going to receive a second email that says required documentation. This is the one that's super important, and I want you to, if you are applying with me, like kind of right along with me, you're going to need to go gather this information. You can get it from your payroll company. Just request, when we get into it, PDF files, and electronically you can upload them. So first off, they're looking for a detailed payroll report. So this is essentially, if you want to look at this image down below, it's an outline of all the payments, all the deductions, contributions, taxes for each employee, for each paycheck during your eligible period. So another way of saying that is they need 3 items for each check paid during the period. They need the gross wages, the check date, and the recipient's name, like the employee's name. Now again, a detailed payroll report may be called something else if you're using ADP or Gusto, but you should be able to generate this report and then upload it. Again, this image kind of shows you exactly what they're looking for. Up next, they're gonna ask for who does your payroll. And for me, I use Gusto, so I'm gonna put Gusto, put whatever's appropriate for you. And what's really cool is this is adaptive. So if you pick Gusto, they're going to tell you exactly how to get that payroll report. If you change it to ADP or QuickBooks, it'll tell you exactly how to pull that up. I'm loving this new application. And I can just show you quickly, like if you're using Paychex, it tells you how to download that data. ADP, exactly, same sort of thing. So here's where you would upload that payroll report. And it does ask for names down below of any majority owners. For example, family members, siblings, parents, if they work for you, they are excluded from this tax credit. So just go ahead and list any of those names so that they get all that information correct. Up next, they're going to ask for 941 forms. Sometimes they're called 943s or 944s, but your payroll reports, these quarterly payroll reports that your accountant probably doesn't file for you, the payroll company does, we need these to be uploaded, and they go right here. Again, PDF form would work fine. And then it asks you if you received a PPP loan. Select the appropriate answer. Maybe it's the first draw, second draw. It was forgiven, it wasn't. They need to take that into consideration when they do all the calculations. Okay, congratulations. You just walked through the process for the ERC Employee Retention Credit. Feel free to comment down below with any questions that you have. If you go through this process, you put my name or use my link, then you'll probably be getting an email from me, because I like to help move you along in the process. It's something that I have dedicated myself to. Also, there are a ton of resources on my website, so be sure to please check those out. Blog posts, we're talking podcasts. It's like the ultimate guide to everything you ever wanted to know about the ERC Employee Retention Credit. And if you're new to the channel, please don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. This channel is all about making you money, teaching you how to grow your wealth, so I'd love to have you. All right, as always, I'm Rich, and until next time.